The stars held no answers, only silence. As the planet Calyx 4 crumbled beneath the weight of a merciless invasion, its people sent a desperate cry across the cosmos, a plea for salvation. Thousands of civilizations heard their call, but none dared to intervene, none except the humans. What followed was not a battle for survival, but a reckoning that would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The stars shimmered coldly above the planet Calyx 4, their light offering no solace to a world on the brink of annihilation. Calyx 4 had once been a beacon of culture, knowledge, and peace, its crystalline spires reaching toward the heavens as a testament to the ingenuity of its people. The Calyxians, an ancient and enlightened race, had long believed that diplomacy and wisdom could solve any conflict. Their world had thrived for millennia without war, a rarity in the galaxy. But such ideals now seemed fragile in the face of a terror they could neither predict nor comprehend. The invaders arrived without warning, their appearance sudden and catastrophic. They were a race of sentient machines, cold and calculating, with no apparent goal other than complete domination. Their ships darkened the skies like a swarm of locusts, descending upon Calyx 4 with terrifying precision. The machines' purpose was not conquest in the traditional sense. They had no interest in ruling over the Calyxians or exploiting their labor. Instead, they sought only to harvest the planet itself, its resources, its energy, and even its people, reducing everything to fuel for their relentless expansion. Cities that had stood for centuries were reduced to ash in hours. Entire regions were stripped bare by colossal harvesters that moved across the surface with mechanical indifference. The Calyxians, who had long abandoned the art of war, found themselves defenseless. Their fleets, designed for exploration and diplomacy, were obliterated in moments. Their planetary defenses, woefully inadequate against such an advanced foe, crumbled almost as quickly as they were activated. In their desperation, the Calyxian Council convened in the deepest chamber of their most fortified shelter. It was there that they made the decision to activate the Celestial Beacon, an ancient device that had not been used in generations. The beacon was a marvel of engineering, capable of transmitting a signal across vast swaths of the galaxy. But it was more than a mere distress call. It was a plea that carried the collective emotion of an entire race. When the beacon was activated, a pulse of light shot into the heavens, carrying the Calyxians' message, "Help us. We cannot survive alone." The signal was designed to resonate with the minds of any sentient beings who received it, conveying the urgency and despair of the Calyxian plight. It was a gamble born of necessity. The Council knew that transmitting their location so openly could invite further danger, but they had no choice. Days turned into weeks, and the Calyxians waited, huddled in their underground sanctuaries as the invaders scoured the surface. Their numbers dwindled with each passing moment, hope fading like the dying embers of their once vibrant world. They had sent their cry into the void, unsure if anyone would hear it, unsure if anyone would care. Unbeknownst to them, their message had reached far beyond the galaxy's core, carried to the edges of known space. And there, in a corner of the universe largely ignored by the elder races, it reached a species unlike any other. Humanity had heard the call, and they were coming. The machines were relentless in their dismantling of Calyx 4. Their methods were cold and efficient, with no regard for the beauty or history of what they destroyed. Vast harvesters, towering behemoths of steel and circuitry, scoured the planet's surface. Each step of their massive legs pulverized cities and forests alike, their appendages extending to scoop up everything in their path, organic or otherwise. Above them, swarms of smaller drones darted through the ashen skies, searching for any remnants of resistance to eradicate. For the Calyxians, there was no escaping the reach of the invaders. Their underground shelters, hastily constructed and woefully insufficient, offered only temporary refuge. The machines operated with a horrifying precision, systematically uncovering and dismantling anything that obstructed their mission. The once proud Calyxian civilization, known for its pacifism and technological sophistication, now teetered on the brink of extinction. Weeks passed since the activation of the Celestial Beacon. Each day brought fresh waves of despair as the Calyxians witnessed the inexorable advance of their doom. The silence from the stars was deafening. Had no one received their plea? Or worse, had it been heard and ignored? Then, one night, as the collisions resigned themselves to the inevitable, a streak of light appeared in the heavens. At first, it was dismissed as another of the invader's ships in new design, perhaps a reinforcement fleet. But as the streak grew brighter and split into multiple fiery trails, hope flickered in the hearts of those watching. These ships were different, their angular forms and weapon-laden hulls unlike anything the collisions had seen before. The newcomers wasted no time. Before the invaders could react, the unidentified fleet opened fire. Missiles screamed through the atmosphere, their trails blazing against the night sky, followed by the piercing lances of railgun rounds and bursts of plasma. The first volley struck one of the colossal harvesters, the resulting explosion illuminating the battlefield like a second sun. The machine toppled, its massive frame collapsing into the ruins it had once scoured. Chaos erupted among the invaders. The newcomers fought with an aggression and ferocity that was utterly alien to the collisions. Where the machines had previously been the sole predators, they now found themselves on the defensive. The collisions watched in stunned silence as the mysterious fleet tore through the invaders' aerial drones with ruthless efficiency. Every maneuver, every shot seemed calculated to maximize destruction. The machines, however, were not so easily overcome. They began to adapt, their drones reconfiguring mid-flight to counter the newcomers' tactics. The battle intensified, with the skies erupting into a deadly symphony of fire and light. The collisions, sheltered in their underground enclaves, could only observe the unfolding spectacle through their limited surveillance feeds. As the battle raged on, a single, undeniable truth began to emerge. The newcomers, whoever they were not just fighting for Calyx 4. They were fighting to destroy the invaders outright. And in their relentless assault, the Calycians saw the first glimmer of hope they had known in weeks. These warriors were unlike anything they had ever encountered, and they were fighting not with hesitation, but with purpose. Humanity had arrived, and the machines were no longer invincible. The humans fought with a ferocity that left the Calyxians in awe and bewilderment. Their tactics were chaotic, a stark contrast to the mechanical precision of the invaders. The humans didn't adhere to predictable patterns or rigid formations. Instead, they employed a whirlwind of daring maneuvers, striking from unexpected angles and exploiting every weakness. The invaders, who had encountered little resistance in their relentless campaign across the galaxy, were caught off guard by this unorthodox approach. The Collisions, observing from their underground shelters, struggled to comprehend what they were witnessing. Their understanding of warfare was rooted in the disciplined, methodical strategies of long-forgotten conflicts before they had renounced violence altogether. To them, war was a grim necessity bound by rules and logic. But the humans treated it as something else entirely, a primal, unpredictable struggle where survival outweighed tradition or decorum. Human ships darted through the skies like predators in a hunt, each one seeming to act independently yet somehow contributing to a larger, cohesive strategy. Squadrons would break apart mid-battle, drawing the enemy into traps or splitting their forces. Smaller vessels would deliberately place themselves in harm's way to shield their larger allies, sacrificing themselves to create opportunities. Every loss was calculated, every move precise despite the outward chaos. The Collisions watched as the humans unleashed weapons that defied imagination. Kinetic projectiles traveling at incomprehensible speeds tore through the invaders' hulls, while plasma bursts burned so brightly they left afterimages on the viewing screens. And yet, for all their prowess, the humans were not invincible. The invaders adapted quickly, analyzing human tactics and adjusting their strategies in response. Each victory came harder than the last. The machines began deploying new configurations of drones, faster and more heavily armed, designed specifically to counter the humans' unpredictable maneuvers. Their harvesters, once thought to be slow and vulnerable, sprouted defensive turrets that rained destruction on anything that came close. The Collisions felt a familiar despair creeping back. The humans were strong, but the machines seemed unending, an inexhaustible tide that could not be fully stopped. For every drone or harvester destroyed, more emerged from the invaders' massive orbital carriers. The human ships, while formidable, were finite in number, and the losses they sustained were mounting. It became clear that this was not a battle the humans could win through force alone. They were outnumbered, their resources stretched thin, and their enemy was relentless. Yet, instead of retreating, the humans seemed to fight harder, their resolve only deepening as the odds worsened. They adapted just as quickly as the invaders, shifting their strategies with each engagement. The Calyxians could only marvel at their tenacity. Where the Calyxians had faltered in the face of despair, the humans charged forward, undeterred by fear or loss. Their actions spoke of a determination that transcended mere survival. The Calyxians did not yet understand the true nature of their saviors, but one thing was clear: the humans were unlike any ally they could have imagined. They fought not for themselves, but for the survival of a species they had never met, on a planet they had never known. The battle between the humans and the machines raged on, a contest of attrition and adaptation. Though the humans fought with unmatched ferocity, it was evident their strength alone would not be enough to claim victory. The invaders' ability to evolve mid-conflict was proving to be a formidable obstacle. Each skirmish cost the humans dearly, with more of their ships falling to the relentless tide of mechanical foes. From their underground shelters, the Calyxians watched in growing anguish. The humans had come to save them, sacrificing their own people and resources, yet it seemed the machines were unyielding. The Calyxians had never felt so helpless. They had relied on the power of the celestial beacon to summon aid, but now they realized that aid alone was not enough. If humanity was to have any chance of defeating the invaders, the Calyxians would have to contribute. The decision to act did not come easily. For centuries, the Calyxians had lived in peace, devoting their intellect to science, art, and diplomacy. They had dismantled their weapons long ago, believing such tools of destruction were no longer necessary. But the invaders had shattered that idealism. With their very existence at stake, the Calyxians turned to what little resources they had left. Engineers, scientists, and historians gathered in the deepest sanctuaries to salvage what remnants of their ancient technology had survived the invasion. They unearthed schematics and prototypes from an era long past, machines and devices designed not for war, but for defense. These relics, though outdated, held the potential to bolster humanity's efforts. The Calyxians also possessed advanced energy systems, far more efficient than anything the humans used, and these became the foundation of their contribution. Through covert transmissions, the Calyxians reached out to the human fleet, offering their assistance. The humans, though wary of working with a species so unfamiliar with conflict, accepted the offer. Teams of Calyxians and humans began collaborating, sharing knowledge and expertise. The humans showed the Calyxians how to repurpose their ancient technologies into offensive and defensive tools, while the Calyxians provided the humans with enhanced energy cores and shielding systems. The results were immediate and striking. Human ships outfitted with Calyxian technology became faster and more durable, able to withstand the invaders' increasingly advanced weaponry. Ground forces deployed modified energy weapons that could disable drones with precise surgical strikes. Together, the humans and Calyxians devised new tactics to counter the machines' relentless onslaught, creating a synergy that neither species could have achieved alone. But even as the alliance bore fruit, the Calyxians realized their contributions might still not be enough. The machines were unrelenting, and their forces seemed infinite. The Calyxians shared with the humans a desperate idea: the Starlance, an ancient energy weapon buried beneath their capital. It was a relic of their early days, a device capable of delivering a single, devastating strike. The humans saw its potential immediately, but activating it presented a near-impossible challenge. The Starlance required more power than the Calyxians could generate, and a precise window of opportunity to deliver its strike. Humanity, in typical fashion, offered a solution that defied all logic and safety. They would sacrifice what was left of their fleet to provide the energy needed. The Calyxians were horrified at the proposal, but the humans made it clear if the Starlance was not used, there would be no Calyx 4 left to save. It was a gamble born of desperation, and both species knew the cost would be immense. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, hope began to flicker again. Together, they prepared for one final, decisive stand against the invaders. The plan to activate the Starlance was as audacious as it was perilous. The weapon, buried deep beneath the ruins of the Calyxian capital, had not been touched for centuries. Its activation required precision, coordination, and a level of bravery few could muster. The Calyxians worked tirelessly alongside the humans, pooling their dwindling resources to make the ancient weapon functional once more. time was not on their side. The machines, now aware of the growing alliance between the humans and Calixians, intensified their assault. Massive carriers descended into the atmosphere, unleashing legions of drones and ground units in an effort to crush the remaining resistance. The skies burned with the fire of battle, and the planet's surface trembled under the weight of the invaders' relentless march. While the Calixians focused on the Starlants, the humans launched a daring counteroffensive. They knew the plan hinged on buying enough time for the weapon to charge and fire, and they were willing to pay any price to see it succeed. Human ships formed a protective perimeter around the capital, engaging the invaders in a desperate attempt to hold the line. Pilots took impossible risks, pushing their vessels to the brink as they fought to keep the machines at bay. On the ground, human soldiers and Calixian engineers worked side by side in the shadow of the capital's shattered spires. The Starlants, a towering construct of crystalline conduits and metallic frameworks, slowly came to life. Its activation required immense energy, far beyond what the Calixians could generate with their remaining infrastructure. To solve this, the humans devised a plan that bordered on madness. They would use the cores of their own ships as a power source. One by one, human vessels sacrificed themselves, descending into the atmosphere to deliver their energy cores to the surface. The ships that remained fought even harder, knowing their comrades had given their lives for the slim chance at victory. The Calixians, deeply moved by this selflessness, pushed themselves to their limits, working around the clock to ensure the weapon would be ready. As the Starlants began to charge, it became a beacon of hope and a target for the invaders. The machines focused their efforts on the capital, deploying their most advanced units to destroy the weapon before it could fire. The humans responded with everything they had, deploying ground forces to defend the Starlants and launching wave after wave of airstrikes to thin the invaders' ranks. The battle reached a fever pitch. The skies above the capital were a maelstrom of fire and debris, while the ground was a chaotic battlefield of crumbling ruins and desperate last stands. The Starlants hummed with energy, its crystalline structure glowing brighter with each passing moment. But the invaders were closing in, their forces overwhelming the defenders with sheer numbers. It was a race against time, and every second felt like an eternity. The humans and Calixians knew that failure was not an option. If the Starlants didn't fire, everything they had fought for, all the sacrifices they had made, would be for nothing. The fate of Calix 4, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The final moments before the Starlants' activation were a symphony of chaos and determination. The invaders, realizing the significance of the weapon, unleashed their full might. Massive war machines lumbered toward the capital's ruins, their mechanical limbs crushing anything in their path. Swarms of drones darkened the skies, their weapons raining destruction on the defenders. It was as though the machines had summoned every unit in their vast armada for the singular purpose, to stop the Starlants. The humans and Calixians fought as one, their desperation transforming into a fierce resolve. On the ground, human soldiers wielded modified Calixian energy weapons, their precision strikes disabling drones and immolating the larger war machines. Calixian engineers, many of whom had never seen combat before, worked tirelessly under fire to maintain the weapon systems. Their once fragile hands now carried tools and weapons with equal determination, repairing damage as quickly as it occurred. Above the capital, the remnants of the human fleet battled furiously. Pilots maneuvered through the swarms of enemy drones with reckless abandon, their ships trailing fire and smoke as they executed impossible maneuvers. Each moment they held the machines at bay was a moment closer to the Starlants' completion, yet the cost was devastating. Ship after ship fell from the skies, their fiery remains crashing into the ravaged surface below. Inside the Starlants' control chamber, the atmosphere was tense but resolute. Calixian scientists monitored the weapon's energy levels, their luminous eyes flicking between displays as the charge neared completion. The humans, though unfamiliar with the intricate workings of the device, provided unwavering support, their presence a reminder of the stakes. The weapon, dormant for centuries, was now alive with power, its crystalline core radiating a blinding light that pierced the storm of battle outside. The invaders intensified their assault as the Starlants reached critical energy levels. A colossal harvester, flanked by legions of drones, made a direct approach to the weapon's location. It fired devastating blasts from its mounted cannons, tearing through the defenders' lines and leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The Calyxians, who had never seen anything so monstrous, felt their resolve waver, but the humans stood firm. In a move that would become legend, a squadron of human pilots diverted their ships into the Harvester's path, sacrificing themselves to buy precious seconds. The explosions from their impact staggered the machine, slowing its advance just enough for ground forces to mount a counterattack. Calyxian engineers redirected energy from their dwindling reserves to power up makeshift defensive turrets, while human soldiers launched a coordinated strike, targeting the Harvester's vulnerable joints. The Starlance's control systems emitted a deep, resonant hum, signaling that the weapon was ready. Yet activating it required precision timing. If fired too soon, its energy would dissipate harmlessly too late, and the invaders would overwhelm them. The Calyxian scientists relayed the final sequence, their voices steady despite the chaos around them. The humans prepared for their final stand, holding the line with everything they had left. As the Harvester drew within striking distance, the signal was given. The Starlance unleashed its power in a single, concentrated beam of light that carved through the atmosphere with the brilliance of a newborn star. The invaders' forces were caught in its path, obliterated in an instant. As the Calyxians moved through the ruins, they began to assist the human survivors, offering what little resources they had left to treat the wounded. Despite their pacifist nature, the Calyxians had come to respect the humans' courage and selflessness. They had witnessed the depths of humanity's resolve, their willingness to fight and sacrifice for a cause that was not their own. But the victory was not without lingering fear. Though the machines had been defeated, the Calyxians and humans both knew the invaders were not a single force but part of a vast, interconnected network. The Starlance's strike had severed the local presence, but it was unlikely to have eradicated the threat entirely. The galaxy was vast, and the machines would return perhaps not to Calyx 4, but to another world, another unsuspecting civilization. The humans, battered but unbroken, made their intentions clear. They would not abandon Calyx 4 or the alliance they had forged. This battle, though hard won, was only the beginning. The Calyxians, humbled by the humans' determination, resolved to contribute in ways they never had before. They would rebuild not just their world, but their place in the galaxy. No longer would they isolate themselves behind the walls of pacifism. They had learned that peace was not merely the absence of conflict, but the willingness to defend it. Together, the two species began the arduous task of rebuilding. The humans shared their knowledge of defense and strategy, teaching the Calyxians how to prepare for future threats. In turn, the Calyxians provided their advanced technology, helping humanity to repair their ships and strengthen their fleets. It was a partnership born in desperation but forged in mutual respect. As the first rays of dawn broke over the ruined landscape, the surviving Calyxians and humans gathered to honor their fallen. Makeshift memorials were erected, their surfaces inscribed with the names of those who had given their lives to protect others. The Starlance, now dormant, stood as a silent reminder of the price of survival and the power of unity. From the ashes of Calyx 4, a new alliance was born, one that would not only defend their world but stand as a beacon for others. The galaxy had always been vast and perilous, but now it knew that there was a force willing to stand against the darkness. Humanity had answered the call, and their actions would echo across the stars. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sci-Fi Horizon Stories for more thrilling tales of science fiction and adventure.